like they say, dying makes you stronger in comedy, but like literally being dying and cremated in front of an entire corporate audience online,
Oh,
that definitely toughens you, gives you thick skin.
oh my god, absolutely. I can't even imagine. Hello there. You are very welcome to Your Play or Mine, the only podcast that is combining the worlds of sport and the arts and entertainment in one show. And I'm your host, Sarah Mackenzie Foley. This is season 1, episode 6. If you are stumbling across the podcast for the very first time, welcome to the community. It's a fab place to be, if I do say so myself. What I would highly encourage you to do is listen back from episode 1 all the way through to this episode, because I've had an amazing guest list so far in season 1. And I just have a feeling, that if you're here, you're going to enjoy all the other episodes as well. For today's episode, I am joined by Irish comedian Bernard Casey. And if you haven't been to one of Bernard's shows, which I have recently, you're missing out. But don't worry, because he shared some news about his upcoming shows and projects that he has coming up in this episode. So make sure you listen all the way through to the end for that. And in the meantime, once you finish this episode, you can go and check out his online skits, which are they're top tier. They really are. So without further ado, here is the latest episode of Your Play or Mine with Bernard Casey. Enjoy. Bernard, you're very welcome to Your Play or Mine. How are you doing?
Very well, Sarah. Thanks very much for having me on.
I didn't brief Bernard on this. We're actually just going to do a show. He's just going to do a whole skit now. It's
Whole
just going
hour.
to be... No,
This is
I'm
the
just...
fear of the Zoom gigs over COVID coming back again.
I know, I
Oh
dialed
no!
into a few. Yeah, I dialed into
Oh
a few. It was
no!
a very unique experience. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like they say, dying makes you stronger in comedy, but like literally being dying and cremated in front of an entire corporate audience online,
Oh,
that definitely toughens you, gives you thick skin.
oh my god, absolutely. I can't even imagine. But in all seriousness, though, we start off the show always with 3 kick-off questions, and the first one is always,
Yeah.
what's your very first sporting memory?
My very first sporting memory is, I'd say it's probably in my home pitch, Skellig Rangers. I remember we played Valencia, our neighbours, in an under 10s match. Now, what we used one of the big goals and one of the small goals. And I specifically remember, I don't even think there was even numbers. Like, I would think everyone was just left running around. But to us, this was a massive game against our rivals. But I do remember seeing players from the opposition team sitting down, picking the grass and having a chat. That's how this was under 10. We were only about 8, like 7. Not even, I'd say I was only about 7, if
Wow.
even, because there was no such thing as under 7s, 8s, 9s in the country. It was
Yeah.
just it was under 12s, and then whoever was left under that, there was like a little under 10s bracket that was unofficial. But I remember playing that game, and I remember my mate Daniel got a goal, and we talked about that goal for about 6 months afterwards, because he was only about 7 as well, and he got a goal in the under 10s match, and they're
Oh
all
my
saying, "Geez,
god.
Daniel's going to be the next big thing, but he got a goal in the under 10s." But after that, then I remember as well, we played the seniors played Waterville in a league match, and that like it was just so exciting for us because we were inside in the dressing room. The senior players were getting tugged out and they were getting ready, and we were coming in after our big under 10s match with the neighbours.
Yeah.
And just it's still very vivid, very clear. The colours, the sound, the picture, everything is very, very clear.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of that moment where I was like, Jesus, this is what my dad's been on about, you know?
Yeah, you're like, I get it now. Okay, the
Yeah,
penny has dropped. I love
penny drop.
that. That's brilliant. Who then? This one is often hard for people to pick, but who would you say is your personal sporting greatest of all time in any sport?
Um, to be honest, of late, I would always be in the world of G8s, etc. But probably the second sport to us, a lot of people in South and Mid Kerry is rowing. So
Mm,
I would say personally, I think Paul O'Donovan, to be
yeah,
honest,
absolutely.
I think Paul O'Donovan is the greatest. He's a great sportsman, 3 Olympics. He's also hilarious. He doesn't try to
Oh
be.
no,
He tries to shy away from the spotlight, and when he's in it, he completely takes it.
yeah,
He's a unique. he's a unique individual, and he's just I think, in an era where the likes of McGregor and them are out there, flaunting their stuff and showing off and whatever, like give me Paul O'Donovan any day. I think he's a fantastic role model. He's a
Yeah.
amazing sports person, unique individual. Just I would say I would have to say I would personally admire him, and probably would probably be a bit nervous if I met him.
Oh, definitely. Like, yeah, you're so right. It's like hot and cold. I'd love to know what he's like just on an average day, because when they put the camera in
Yeah,
front of, or the mic in front of him, he's hilarious. Like at what was it called? The Park of Champions, where they brought them all out after they'd won their medals,
yeah.
and they were saying to him, like, what do you think of the spectacle? And he just deadpan was like, they did their best, but like this won't be a patch now on Skibbereen. Like he was
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
he's brilliant.
Yeah, it's just natural wit. It's natural wit,
Yeah,
and he never they were like the big thing for this Olympics was Ireland were clearly the favourites.
yeah.
And every interview he just kept saying, "Like we're only small lads now, like we wouldn't be, we're people wouldn't be expecting us to do anything to like Switzerland, and then we're fierce good altogether." But not at any stage. What made that brilliant was that not at any stage did he break that. He kept
Yeah.
that going right to the very end. Even when they won the gold, he said, it was great for us to be even competing, let alone winning." It's just pure bollocksology, blackguardly,
Yeah.
that stuff. It's
Very
great.
true.
Yeah.
Very true. What's the most emotional sporting moment you've ever experienced? I know you obviously played GA, you mentioned that. So it could be as a player or as a spectator or even both.
Yeah, I'll go for both, I suppose. Definitely as a player, it would have been. I was lucky. We played in Croke Park. We won an All Ireland Junior Club back in 2009 with Gaelic Rangers. Very, very fortunate to be part of that and to be playing on the day and everything. But I still think that the most emotional one wasn't the final itself and playing in Croke Park. It was actually the semi-final. We
Mm,
had beaten a team from Monaghan who were very highly fancied. They were an intermediate team the year before, and we beat them. And the fact that we were going to Croke Park, that was the game to get to Croke Park, you
yeah.
know. And it was. I remember we played it in this fucking very narrow country pitch above in Leash, and like it was the greatest performance we ever put in as a senior club. And the spectators and the supporters afterwards said that was the greatest display ever from our club,
Wow.
because there was so much on the line. There was literally everything was on the line. It was either now or never. We either win
Mm,
this game and get to Croke Park, or we're a small club, people immigrate and drop out or whatever. If we didn't win that game, we would have never got the opportunity to do it again. And we won it. And I remember afterwards we went into the dressing room, and we're all hugs and high fives on the pitch, but we went into the dressing room, it kind of dawned on us that Jesus, we're going to Croke Park, like, and there was a lot of silence. There was a lot of private sobbing,
yeah.
me included. Like, I was like, it's just childhood dream come true, like, because
Yeah.
like we'll say maybe four or five of the 30-man panel had represented Kerry at minor level or under 21 or senior or whatever, but the 26 others didn't and never ever had
Yeah.
a chance. And to think that you were going to play in Croke Park now, even though you never made minor or 21 or we're never going to,
Yeah.
it's such an amazing feeling. And that I do remember there was a lot of kind of lads pretending they weren't crying but were actually crying and couldn't talk, and it was amazing. It was a savage feeling, a
Mm.
beautiful feeling. As a supporter, then it would have to be Kerry in Dublin 2022. Sean O'Shea's kick, that was definitely the best, because I think Dublin had caused so much heartache for Kerry supporters. I think
Yeah.
the 10, 12, the 12 years or 11 years of that, like we hadn't beaten them, and to finally get over the line in such spectacular circumstances was amazing. And what always surprised me about that is it was like the greatest moment in Kerry GA for many a decade. And first thing a lot of Kerry fans did, like full time whistle went, took off straight. We must get the train. We must get the train. It's like, Jesus, soak it in for a second, lads. I must go in, I must get the train. And the car knows only until 8 o'clock below the car parks, and I must go away. It's
Oh
like
my
they didn't
god.
even giving themselves a chance to enjoy it. Like we were, like I remember, I screamed so I didn't realize I could scream that loud because I actually caught it on. on Instagram
Oh,
story, the
amazing.
kick. And I was listening to it back. I was like, geez, if anyone asks, I'm just going to say that was a woman beside me. Like, it was such a loud scream, you know.
Oh my god. Yeah, I feel like Croke Park in All Ireland's just it's very rare that you don't get an All Ireland that produces some sort of magic moment, you know, like not even just at senior level. As you said, like often it's the even the junior teams. It's definitely a really special place, I think, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's that. It's the epicenter of the GA world. You know, it's where everyone wants to play and where everyone wants to watch a match as well. You
Yeah,
know, bar an empty Croke Park is pretty bad, but
fair.
semi full, three quarters full is decent. But you know, yeah, a full Croke Park is special.
Well, I suppose it's definitely the biggest stage in GA, and you know, comedy is often called the most difficult job in entertainment because you're going out there on your own, trying to make people laugh, which is very, very hard. How have you learned to manage nerves over the years? Like, were you always kind of able to do it, or were you awful at the beginning? And did you have to kind of learn how to deal with them?
Yeah, and of course, like the very beginning, the first kind of 2 to 3 years, really, you were quite anxious before each show, like over preparing. You know, I started out by writing out every word before
Mm,
going on stage, but then that started to take it out of me. I remember going with one of the owners of the comedy clubs. I was telling him what I did, and he said, "Oh," he goes, "you're wasting your energy." He goes, "Just jot down points." Like so, I
yeah.
changed that then to bullet points with little tiny paragraphs, then went to just bullet points, you know, because it was muscle memory had built, and I, rehearsed pretty much what I was going to do. I guess it's just, you know, for me, it was a lot of walking around the venue, we'll say, beforehand, maybe going for a walk up and down the street, getting the head clear, get things in order. You know, I might say, okay, I have five things today. The first one is this, second one is that, third thing, fourth, fifth, etc. But then I guess what I was looking to do, I did the acting course. I did two acting courses actually, one in the Stefanefa in Cork and one in the Gaiety, and you learn a lot about warm-ups, like vocal, body, mental warm-ups, and they're very good. They're extremely good, you know.
Yeah.
Even if some of them are even like a placebo, to be honest with you, they're just
Well,
like you're doing it just to convince yourself that you're getting ready to go on stage. Like there's
yeah.
vocal ones where you might go, you know, all these
Yeah.
type of things. They might do something for you, but mentally it's more like, okay, I'm doing this, so I'm getting myself ready, you know.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of that. The bigger shows then we'll say the 1 hour plus shows,
Mm,
uh, I would have a kind of a better, kind of more intense warm up strategy as well. I remember one time we had in acting school in Cork, we had a workshop on called it was called what was it, Leban dance technique. So it's this type of practice that dancers do, but it's crosses the boards across all performing arts, you know, where you kind of it's breathing and kind of touching your legs and all the way up your body, up to your head, your skull, but you're breathing at certain times. You breathe in, then you pause, and then you only move when you're inhaling. It totally wakes
mm,
up your body and it gets your kind of your mind and your body in tune. And I think
yeah.
that things like that really work. Yeah.
What happens when you, I mean, I'm just assuming that at some point this has happened. What happens when you blank on stage? Like, how do you, because in the moment, I feel
Oh
like the
yeah.
natural reaction is panic, but you're trying not to show it at the same time.
Oh, it's happened. It's happened. I remember even doing a play in my second year of college. I totally
Mm,
blanked one year. I totally blanked. I remember going like I don't even know what next to say. Like it was that bad.
yeah.
Only I was my the actor beside me was she was a fantastic. So she knew what my line should have been and reacted to the next
Okay.
one, which prompted me to the next one. So I was lucky that time. But with stand up, you're up there all alone.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes you can have bullet points in the palm of your hand. You might have
Yes.
it on the inside of a bottle or, you know, on a piece of paper where it's out of sight, you know, just in case you need to take a quick glance. A lot of the time that's not the case as well. You'll forget to look, you know, because you're in the
Mm,
heat of it and you don't want the audience seeing you. looking, it's like cheating, really.
Yeah.
Um, but you just take a breath, you kind of just go, oh, let's do it anyway. I don't even know what was I even talking about. What was
Yeah.
it? I was talking. Oh, yes, of course. Oh, you can make a joke of it.
Hmm.
If you're honest, if you're honest about it, and go. I'll be honest with you. I haven't a fucking clue what I was going to say. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, I have it now. And the audience help you and they feel part of it. And if they see you not taking it too seriously and just going for it, it's fine.
Yeah, fair. I feel like I would definitely, as an audience member, I'd have more respect for someone just being like, "Oh, I'll be honest, I just totally lost my train of thought
Yeah,
there. Give me a second."
yeah.
Um, I
Pretty
could
much
totally
that really.
understand that. Yeah. I suppose as well, when you get bigger, you would have the warm up acts that would be on before you, but you know what that feels like as well, being maybe the first person on in like a lineup of
Yeah.
7 or 8, let's say, at a festival or something. Like,
Hmm.
does the experience feel any different from a preparation standpoint, or is it kind of the same whether do you feel the same whether you're
You're
the main act
supporting.
or whether you're warming up?
No, if you were hosting and supporting, you're initially nervous because you're going out to a cold room,
Mm,
and them first 2 or 3 minutes, like they can be tricky. You're getting the
yeah.
balancing act right. You have to kind of read the energy of the room. Like, are they lively
Yeah.
people? Are there groups of friends? Is there a kind of is there a group of old school friends together in the corner having a catch up? Are they lively? Or else maybe they're more subtle crowd. It might be more of a crowd of couples. It might be
Mm,
people on holidays, etc. So there's not much of a unison going on within the room. So you have to match that. So once you can, that's what I would always say. If you can read the room prior to going on, you'll know the energy to match it with. So
yeah.
sometimes I'll go up, and if it was say the quieter with the couples and the tourists and people on just deciding to pop in, you'd be like, "Hello, how are you getting on? Are you well? Fantastic. You looking forward to a nice night evening of comedy? Ah, sure, that's the crack. We're all here for a good time anyway. What's your name, sir? That's
Yeah.
nice and gentle and relaxed. But if it's the other one where they're like, "Hello," they're all woohoo, starting. So literally, you kind of just go, "Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Well, look at this one. How's this one? You've been here since about 8 o'clock this morning, waiting for the show." I say, "Oh, there's the bag on your lap and everything. Don't worry, no one's going to steal it off you." So you're matching the energy. That's what I would do anyway. And everyone has their own way.
Mm,
But once you're done, say if you're the host, once you're done, the first initial one, the rest of it is very easy. You're really relaxed because your job after that is just to uh, allow people, I suppose, monitor the people getting up onto the toilet and stuff, making sure the kind of control of the room is good and that you're bringing on the next act in a good way. You know,
yeah.
that just hang on for the toilets, lads. We'll be going around 15 minutes. But before that, can you give a huge welcome to all the way from Ballinascatty in West Cork, the next act.
You mentioned earlier building a thick skin in a sporting context. I think that's one of the biggest links for me between performing, say on stage or wherever it may be, and performing on a sporting kind of on a platform, I suppose you call it.
Mhm.
Have you, are there any kind of like comparisons that you draw in your head that help you with that you've kind of used over the years between the two?
A little bit, I guess. When I started comedy at 2021, and I suppose I played competitive sport with the club till I was about 27. So I had
Mm,
6 years, I suppose, of doing the two. Now, the comedy was definitely each year was taken over, and I was going from starting to coming on at the end to not coming on at all
yeah.
as the years go on because you're missing so much. But I guess there was a period around, particularly around 2012, when I was doing both quite a lot, and then football was going well. That I was able to carry things like visualization is a big thing. So
Mm,
you know the space you're going to be performing in. So like it's kind of like, okay, you're maybe backstage and you're looking around as if you're looking at the audience, and you'd even go out to the stage before it and walk,
mm,
what 8 paces over, 8 paces back, cut that in half, 4 paces over, 4 paces back, two, two, one, one. There's all sorts of things you can do. But I remember transferring that. to the football pitch prior to a game, without trying to look like a lunatic. You know, um, it was okay. It worked bits and pieces. The focus was definitely there for a lot of us. I remember when we were doing a play, we were doing our end of year play in college, and we had intermediate championship at the same time. And I remember it was really going well then. But if you're in the height of it, like,
Yeah.
so because I was in a I suppose very mentally sharp as a result of the play, which transferred quite well to the pitch for mental
Yeah.
clarity, so your preparation, your awareness, and everything like that. Then when you're not in a play and you're trying to bring those techniques over in, it's a little bit more laboured. All right,
Mm.
it's tougher. But I remember one time being massively focused because of doing that Laban technique when I was telling you
Yeah.
about the breathing, touching thing. I said, I'm going to try this now. It was only a junior game, a B game. So I said, I'll try it now before that now. And did all the techniques and everything. And Jesus, I was lifting off together, like, you know.
No
And I thought,
way.
I've practiced. This is gonna bring me to the fucking next level now, like, and I'll be flying
Yeah.
all together. But it doesn't work all the time. But it works at times, all right. When you just you want time to mentally warm up and just try to use that thing. I would say it's visualization, walking the space, visualizing the space, and all that kind of work a bit, all right.
Mm.
But I wouldn't say they were completely transformational.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And I guess the a big difference then I suppose would be being a solo performer versus being on a team. Obviously, it's much harder often to even hone and practice and all those kind of things when you're solo. How have you managed that, especially in something like comedy where you might be one of a number of acts, but at the end of the day you are out there on the stage on your own, working out your techniques. And like you mentioned earlier, you whether you start writing more and then it's less, or I
Mm.
suppose you don't have
Well, I
teammates
guess,
around you to bounce
yeah,
off.
yeah, in a way, but there is like I say here, and I do all my kind of my work in progress and stuff, and my new material here in Cork, and there's a good community of comedians, you know. So
Mm.
you could go in midweek, anything from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a variety of different comedy clubs throughout the city. You go in, you try your stuff, and you'll know from the audience. Number one,
Mm-hmm.
you know from the audience. You also know from the comics if the comics are reacting to it, because it's harder to make a comic laugh, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you know from that? And sometimes you can ask peers, just go, what do you think of that, or how could I fix that, or can I make that any
Mm.
bit better, or I think there is ways, all right,
Yeah.
for sure that there's a um good companionship here in Cork, and and all over Ireland really with comedians. To be honest, everyone's kind of, although it's an individual game, like we were at the Electric Picnic last week, and
Mm.
it was brilliant. Like just everybody meeting each other backstage, because you don't see everyone that often, and
Yeah.
things like the Electric Picnic, all together now, the Galway Comedy Festival, these things, yeah, these festivals are amazing because we all get to. They're like a networking event, really. You're there and you're talking, you're
Mm.
hopping ideas, you're saying, "I've this coming up, and what have you got coming? Oh, great! Give me your number. I'd love for you to be part of this." Or it's
Yeah.
great, and you do. You'll find out, number one, from the audience, and number two, if you can ask your comedy peers what you think, and they'll give. And people have different styles and interests as well, so they can give you different
True.
perspectives.
Is there anybody that you consistently run things past that you're like, okay, if they like it, then I know it's definitely good?
Oh, Laura, my fiance, yeah, 100%. She is the I would say the level to get for me to
Yeah.
make laugh. She's straight, like, and she'll
Yeah.
tell you straight out. Sometimes without any pity. you know.
Brutal
And
honesty.
oh yeah, you can't beat it. Like, we don't like it in the immediate aftermath, but then, like,
Hmm.
it's good for us in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'd come up, like, if I something popped into my head, I say, "Hey, what about this?" And I say, and she could say, "Yeah, but change the wording of that. Say, if you did, and
Mm.
then I was like, "Oh yeah, actually, you're right," and then do that. And I was a lot of the times Laura would come along to the open mics with friends and things as well. So you get a good honest reaction after that as well. But
Yeah.
that definitely, yeah, I would say Laura would be the most. Um, I would anytime if I had a support act for any of the solo shows as well, I'd ask them as well. Look, I'm trying out something new here. Let me know what you think. Or,
Mm.
um, there's always plenty of advice at hand.
Is that hard then? Let's say if it is, your fiance or your partner, whoever you're with at the time, and like, what if the joke is about them? Does she have a good sense of she can sort of remove herself, or is she like, no, no,
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, like I know you have to find that. Thankfully, I haven't crossed that line yet.
okay?
So I had one or two ones. All right, I says I had one where I said me and my daughter Rosie are walking through a maze, and my daughter asked me what's a maze, and I said it's a lot like your mother. It's hard to get through. It's hard to get through to the end or whatever. And she's like, "Why did you say that? That is not right." I'm like, "It's just a casual joke, like it's a generic man-woman joke." And she's like, "Oh, I don't know." So I was like, "Okay, I'll try and find a kinder way to write it."
Very good. I love it. I do want to talk about the community side of things because it's really good to hear that. To be fair, from the outside in, it does look like the Irish comedians in particular are a really good network, which is great to hear that that is actually the case, like from the inside out as well. And sport, I mean, especially in Kerry, and it's the same in any of these like deep GA counties. Um,
Yeah.
the club is the village, the town. It's all part of it. What made you kind of tap into that side of it from your comedy? Because you do a bunch of skits and things like that about Irish sport and the communities, I suppose, that are around clubs.
Yeah, I guess it kind of writes itself, really. It's you know, um, look, not what's inside your head, what your head's inside of is
Mm-hmm.
usually the thing that's who your community in your area shape you. And
Mm.
I'd be big into. I just love phrases, turns of phrases, lovely quick turns of phrase down where we're from. People not even realizing they're being funny, or they don't even realize they're funny.
Yeah.
But they'll say a line that will stick with you. I've always loved that, and even growing up, my brothers, my sister, like my parents, they'd say, "Jesus, he said a very funny line the last thing what did he say?" And like that's how we chat. And
Yeah.
my brother would always pick up on people's mannerisms. Like he was a good, very good. He's a very good mimic, but he
Mm.
would pick up on something like the way someone says a particular word. Like it's like, do you ever hear him saying mattress? I'm like, who? Or Paddy or whatever. Do you ever hear him saying mattress? No, he goes mattress. He goes mattress. I'm like, well, he does actually. Yeah, yeah, he does. He goes, it's underneath the mattress. So they were our kind of sitting room conversations on a midweek after
Mm.
school. So
Yeah.
you'd pick up on things like that. Our community as well. There's NGA. There's you have your stereotypical characters so
Mm-hmm.
it kind of writes itself really, and I just always picked up on it. And when we were playing, all you're doing is having the racket, and like managers and selectors always got a doing from players there, like 'cause
Yeah.
the it's like the teach they're like the teacher, you'll love the teacher will always be mimicked.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you're
Of
picking up on
course.
their mannerisms, and that things they're not even aware of themselves, and you're repeating them and just having a bit of crack with it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of my comedy would come from, and I would try and put a spin on it in terms of the stand-up style and things like that, not to make it too obvious.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to know as well what it feels like, I suppose, playing gigs where it's Irish people that are now living elsewhere. I can imagine there's just such like a warm, fuzzy kind of reaction to that kind of stuff because they're not getting it on a daily basis the way they would be at home.
Yeah, big time. I particularly noticed it from the videos with the say like the local gossip and the nephew videos with the
Yeah.
teeth. They love people abroad love that. You get a lot of messages from people in Canada and Australia, America, and they'd be like, "Oh man, I've been away with 12 years, and you sound exactly like my uncle." I'm making it sick. It actually makes me homesick, but at the same time, I listen
Oh,
to stop
yeah.
the homesickness. So you get a lot of those messages, and when you're abroad, or if I'm at a show and someone has moved home since, they were like, "Oh Jesus, during COVID, man, I was over in fucking New York at the time in an apartment, and just I love the videos. I love just it was the sound
Uh,
of home. So I
yeah.
like I like that, like, and I guess that's the type of thing too I'd like to aim for with the gossip and the nephew and all them characters is that. it's kind of you're trying to capture not just the comedy but a time. You know, you're trying to
Yeah,
capture this is a time. This is when people spoke like this at one stage because we're not going to speak like that forever. Like the accents are changing. The
true.
when we're old, like we're not going to be talking like that. Like we're going to be,
No.
it's going to be we're going to be far more mid-Atlantic, and the generation behind us even more so, and even more so after that. So it's good. It's to capture a time and a kind of a way of being.
Mm, totally. And I actually remember as you were talking there, it came back to me. I was on my J1 in Chicago when the Sminky shorts
Oh yeah,
first came out, and we were
yeah.
over there, and like it's a J1, so you're not even gone for like really a long period of time, but it's probably the first time that you've lived away from home that far for that long. And we quoted every single one of those videos to each other every single day, and like still to this day sometimes one of us will turn
Oh
to the
yeah.
other, and like it's brilliant.
Das ist halt Zehntes, ne?
Oh my god. So good. So so good.
Weil es ein Level Football wäre. Aber ja, das ist weg. What the fuck, we're in there. Most of the time, the fucking stand by rabbit. There's I had the pleasure of working with the man behind Sminky Shorts a number
Unreal.
no about 5 years ago now. What a genius of a man, like, and he
Yeah.
keeps such a low profile. Like he's another
Yeah.
Paul O'Donovan. Yeah, Jason from Cantork. He keeps a low profile. He goes about his business quietly, and it's what a talent! Like that really brought rural Irish comedy to the next level,
Yeah.
because people would associate
100%.
it with kind of, oh, the rural Irish, oh, it's horses and tractors and blah, 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 blah. But people like that's the city perspective on country comedy. But I think like there was a show many years ago called Langerland, which did something very similar as well, did a very good twist on country humor. But then Sminky Sharks brought it to another level altogether, international recognition for the Irish rural people.
Totally, totally. And you can see it now, even like with how big the Young Offenders is. I mean, you couldn't even watch it from Ireland, like, unless you caught the latest episode on the
Oh yeah,
BBC,
yeah.
because you can't get the player from outside of the
Oh
UK.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's mad. It really travels. And Give Up Your Old Sins is another one that to me feels like
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
captured a moment, you know?
That's it. Yeah, but Give Up Your Old Sins is real, like they're actual real
Yeah,
recordings that just put
yeah,
into the cartoon, which is brilliant.
yeah. They just happen to be hilarious.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So my closing question always for each guest is what rule, ritual or regulation would you try to cross over from your sport, so let's say Gaelic football, to being a comedian?
What would I bring from GA? I suppose physical warm up.
Mm,
Physical warm up, I'd say, yeah, but like obviously in the light sense of the word, maybe stretching. Make sure that your body tells as much of the story as your face and your words.
yeah.
So I think really being in tune with your movement,
Mm,
and moving properly. Some people when you're starting out, people do a lot of pacing and up and down and back and forth and putting their hand on the mic and putting holding the mic out like that. But really like controlled movement, knowing it's like if I walk over here, let that little bit of physicality
yeah.
crossways. I guess the whole team aspect as well. You know, if you
Mm,
could like there are a lot of I guess every GA club has a WhatsApp group. There wouldn't be two. There'd be few comedy ones, all right, but they wouldn't have the same I guess connectivity as a GA ones. It's all about the one goal, the one movement.
mm,
Maybe a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of that. But I would definitely say maybe a physical warm up, and if we were to bring something from comedy into GA, I would say visualization and mental warm up.
mm,
I think it would grounds people and keeps them focused on the job.
yeah. Yeah, you can give them that your perfect game example for the the time that it worked
Yes,
for you. Brilliant. And before you go as well, I want to make sure that people know where to find out about any upcoming shows or maybe connect with you on social media. So feel free to share as much as you can about what you have coming up.
so I have a list of shows coming up over August and September. So for September, I'm going to be in the Woodlands in Adair, County Limerick. That's a yearly gig that I do. It's brilliant night.
Nice.
I am in city limits in Cork City on the Saturday after that as well. Then the following week, which is I think the 20th or something like that, I think I'm in Lily's in Sligo. So if you're in Sligo, and Lily's is a
Wow.
lovely little room, only 40 people can fit in there. So
Oh wow.
um, nice to have a nice little tight crowd in there that night. Um, so yeah, plenty coming up. I'm in the Huntsman in Tower, County Cork as well. That's on the 6th of September, and on the 7th of September, I'm in Ballybunion in Mikey Joe's. Mikey Joe's in Ballybunion, a great spot. I was there last year. It was brilliant. And the Huntsman is a great spot out in the beer garden. It's a heated beer garden, so these are all good. They're
Very
all
nice.
great gigs. They're nice rural pub areas. So, except for City Limits, of course, which is in the city centre of Cork.
Yeah, gotta get your city crowd in as well to test it on them.
Oh yeah, the Naris are a big fan of the characters, like so. We'll get him in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, we're going to leave it there for this episode, but Bernard, it's been great crack chatting to you, and thanks so much for taking the time to come on.
You're welcome. Thanks very much, Sarah.